Okay, so I want to show you some things you can think about for rib mobility in breathing. To ensure a full diaphragmatic breath, your ribs need to move in several planes of motion. So we're going to break those down first. So I like to lie in a 90-90 position. My feet are supported on a chair. And you can either lay flat on the floor or you can find a head support. And if you tend to have rib flare, you can place something under you here to kind of help you come down into the floor. But what we're going to do is we're going to basically parse out the mechanics of breath and how the ribs move. First, what we're going to do though is a little bit of a subdiaphragmatic breath. A subdiaphragmatic release. So bringing your fingers under the shelf of the ribs to kind of loosen up any tension through there. The goal is to not poke in to like your organs, but to kind of curl your fingers into the inner shelf of the ribs there so the pads of your fingers face out again. Ultimately, your goal is to get up towards your second knuckles here and just kind of play around with feeling for any tension. You can kind of stay on a little bit of a trigger point and breathe in and out if you find one. Don't go too low down towards those floating ribs, and don't go too high up towards that xiphoid. Stay right at the angle of the ribs there, and do a little bit of gentle release work there. And then after you feel like you have, mobilized that tissue and desensitized it, we're going to come to the first plane of motion. So you can put one hand on the front of your ribs and, you can cover both sides with one hand and then bring the other hand to your sternum. So the first plane of motion that we're going to work with is that forward expansion. So inhaling through your nose, feeling the belly rise, feeling the chest rise. And that direction is usually pretty easy to see and feel. So you can work with that for a little bit. And then the second plane of motion is lateral expansion of your ribs. So if you can kind of visualize a bucket handle on both sides, they open out and up. That's what our ribs want to do. So when you inhale through your nose, we're going to feel those ribs come out and up. Inhale, feel the ribs come out and up. Exhale, feel them come back down and in. And you may feel one side move more than the other. We actually see that, it's pretty common. And now if you ever have been told that you have a wide infrasternal angle, or you feel like your bra line expanded after pregnancy, or if you've ever been told that you're kind of like stuck in an inhale, we can work on those ribs coming back down and in manually. So if you bring one hand to the opposite ribs, you can inhale, feel the ribs expand out to the sides. And then exhale, gently pull them back down and in on the exhale. And you can kind of hold that, and you might feel a little bit of a stretch across your spine a little bit more. So inhale, feel the ribs expand. Exhale, feel them or pull them back down and in. And then do the opposite side. Inhale and exhale, pull them back down and in. Good. So you can hold that exhale for a little bit longer, maybe inhaling for a count of 4 or 5, exhaling for 6, 7, 8, something a little bit longer than the inhale. Okay. And then the last plane of motion that we're going to work on is posterior expansion. So if you can kind of visualize the ribs and then think about Venetian blinds, when we inhale, those ribs come out and back in, kind of like Venetian blinds. So inhale, feel extra pressure down into the floor. Exhale, nice and long. Inhale, feel those ribs come down. Exhale, relax. So those are the 3 planes of motion for those ribs to move in. And now we're gonna basically put all of those mechanics together for a good 360-degree expansion of your ribs. So I like to think about an umbrella. If the stick of the umbrella is down your spine and the part that opens is all along the periphery, the bottom periphery of your ribs, that's what we're gonna think about. When you inhale, we're gonna open evenly in all directions. And when you exhale, the ribs will close back in, just like an umbrella. And you want to think about an equal expansion all the way around, because otherwise, you got a wonky umbrella. So you can place your hands around, thumbs coming back towards the back of you, fingers in front. Inhale, feel that umbrella open in all directions. And exhale, feel that umbrella close. As you do this, you can pay attention to your neck and your chest. Your shoulders should be nice and relaxed. We're really trying to focus on that diaphragm, the diaphragm's movement. When you inhale, that diaphragm contracts down, and that's actually what spreads those ribs in all directions. And when you exhale, the diaphragm recoils back up, and it's that range of motion that we really want to focus on and address here. And so this is a great way to come into a fuller, deeper diaphragmatic breath.